What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about The Front Room, the directorial debut movie from the Eggers brothers, who is the brother to the other Eggers brother. It's going to be a whole thing. We'll talk about it. But it also stars Brandy and a whole bunch of other people. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about your crotchety grandma coming in and messing things up. Laying them holy hands on you in the wrong way possible, wrongest way possible. Let's flip that back and say it right, because we need to let that be known. All the things. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hey everyone, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We're back, better than ever. I'm Jonathan, and I'm here with Alex and Jerome. How are y'all doing today? Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was just wondering, we record these things kind of later at nighttime, and I never understand where you and Jerome get your energy from. Realize now, yeah, that's why I don't do introductions. I don't have that.
I've noticed, for me personally, like internally that my energy starts off here at the beginning of the podcast, and then it ends up in a lower place by the end of it, naturally. But
oh, yeah. I mean, you're spending the whole time, talking and, listening and kind of just also sitting in one place, and I feel like sitting in one place, makes you kind of just, slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been good. I haven't really done or watched anything this past week. It's been slow at my doctor's office, so I'm enjoying that time of not having anything serious right now in my life. I did go to this place with Lauren called Finney Station. I was a little disappointed. I was told they were gonna have alcoholic slushies. I was like, that's really cool. When I got there, they had 3 of them only. And there was a lot more children around. That was like a family place. Food was pretty good, but then I immediately got sick. So that was a fun part of my weekend. But I got to hang out with Lauren, and she's just great to be around. So I'm still counting it as a win, even though for the rest of Sunday I was spent dying.
A win is a win.
Yeah, when it was a win. But yeah, nothing too exciting, and yeah, I'm all good. How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm good too. This week has been good. It's been taking a minute to get to the weekend, which I'm excited for. This past Monday, was it Monday that I started it? It was either this weekend or this week, I can't remember. But I started a show on Netflix because I didn't have, really anything to watch. So I'm like, let me start the show on Netflix.
You need to watch Kevin Can F Himself, but go on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've been thinking about that too. Yeah, I need to watch that. But I started watching this show on Netflix called The Accident. And it is a Spanish language show. It takes place in Mexico. Y'all, someone else needs to watch this show with me because this show is nuts. This show is wild.
It's a foreign drama show. Of course it is.
Basically, okay, okay, thank you, because this show is nuts. You think it's gonna be like a series? Remember that show, The Slap, where it was all about this parent slapped another person's kid, and there was a whole big issue about it. I thought it was gonna be more in that realm where the kids get into this bouncy castle accident, but no, this is just melodrama on top of wild scenarios. And I'm only on episode 2. So I can only imagine how much more wild this show is gonna get. But yeah, that's what I started. Also, The Circle just started on Netflix as well, season 7. So I just started watching that before I came on. That's been fun.
That's the one where they
Uh,
catfish each other, right? Or they
correct.
can't. They can.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, they can either go on as themselves or go on as a catfish, and they're interacting with each other through this social media platform called The Circle, and they're all in their own apartments. And there's an influencer, and that influencer gets to decide who gets the influencers get to decide who goes home, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's that. Also, I had a couple auditions this week, so that was really cool. That was
Ooh,
really nice.
nice.
So
Was it for like
yeah.
a play or a show or?
One was a play and one was a commercial.
Ooh, that's
So
really cool.
yeah. And yeah, that's been most of my week. And it's gonna be a busy work week next week. So yeah, I probably won't have as much of a media update next week, but yeah,
I'm
that's
super
about it.
excited because my doctor's going to be. That's why my week is kind of so calm. My doctor's going to be out next week, so it's going to be great. I'm not going to have like these random things to
Supervision.
deal with because yeah, I love my doctor. I greatly respect him, but I will get emails from him being like, "Oh, I spoke to Doctor blah blah blah. We have a mutual patient. I think his name is Fred or something. Let's get him on the schedule. I should see him." Okay, Fred. What? Anything else?
You know
Anything
Fred.
else? Messed up thing is I knew which Fred he was talking about, but that's not the point. I think it's because I do stuff like that where I'm like, yeah, I know what Fred you're talking about, that he thinks he can get away with just being like, let's find Fred. And I'm like, technically I know who you're talking about, but you need more description. Come on, man. Be cool. But
Jerome, I know you just took a full bite, but how is your week been?
what are you biting?
Pop-Tarts. It's good.
That did not look like a Pop-Tart bite. That looked like a full bite of steak
Oh,
that you had
Yeah,
to.
you-
Pop-Tart. Yeah.
What's your favorite Pop-Tart?
Well, my favorite is the what's it called? Like, is it brown
Brown
sugar?
sugar?
And cinnamon?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
my favorite
one.
one. But these are
I also
strawberry
like the
milkshake Pop-Tarts because I wanted a treat.
Ah.
So
I also like the s'mores one as well.
I do have one in my pantry because it was like a buy two get like $1 off deal. So the second I bought is chocolate chip pancakes. So I'm
Oh.
interested to try that and see how that tastes. But anyway, I've been fine. I've been good. Been doing all right. Nothing major. Not really watching anything right now. My new obsession right now is Warhammer 40K. So I'm watching a lot of like lore on those. And although I did buy models, so I've been working on that. So one day I'll eventually paint them at some point, and then eventually play with Warhammer. Play. Al's already agreed to teach me how to paint and stuff because he already plays Warhammer, so we'll play together. Yeah. There also is a little bit of media news, not much, but it's just a smidgen. We'll start with the fun stuff first. First of all, at the time of this recording, the Minecraft movie had a trailer finally come out, and people are not happy.
How can Minecraft have a movie? Like, isn't it literally like first person? You're building stuff like 8-bit style acts.
Listen, I'll tell you how. It's you just copy the plot of Jumanji, and then that's your movie. Okay, as you can see, you just have them to go into the Minecraft world with live action people. And,
Is that
is this Jason Momoa?
is that Jason Momoa?
Mm-hmm, sure is.
Of course it is. I'm not surprised, actually.
Yep. Got
That Danielle Brooks?
Yep, Danielle Brooks sure is. The kids, I don't know. I think they're new. So don't ask me who the kids are. I mean, it looks like Minecraft to me. And then of course
Jack Black?
Yes, of course.
So he's the through line between Jumanji and Minecraft.
I mean, it's more
He's
like the
hopping
plot is
worlds.
the through line between Jumanji and Minecraft, but sure, yeah.
I really like Jack Black in Jumanji. I don't think he's gonna have the same depth that
Jack
you did in
Black
Jumanji here.
has unfortunately been like not batting 1,000 as of late in regards to his it's only been going downhill as far as his video game adaptations appearances, because at first it started high with a fake video game that is Jumanji, right? Then he was in the Mario movie, and that was like okay, it's not bad, but you know, this movie's okay. And then he was in Borderlands, and everyone was like, all right, I think we've had enough. And he's like, no, you haven't had enough. Here's another spoonful. Minecraft.
But the Super Mario movie made like the most amount of money last year behind like Barbie.
Oh no, it did well. It did well.
That's another
But
thing on
it's
my
just
list that
like-
I want to watch.
Super
It's
Mario.
just like,
Oh, it's a good. It's a fun movie.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It could be good. You know, it could be good. I think people are being a little too harsh on the teaser, because I'm like, it's a teaser. Like, it looks like, and Minecraft, while it does appeal to multiple generations of gamers because it's been around since like the 2000s, and so, you know, people our age played Minecraft back in the day, it mostly appeals to kids. And in fact, when it came out, it appealed to us because we were kids back then. So like to not expect this to be a kids movie is weird to me. And I think that's the thing people are most angry about. They're like, it looks stupid, it looks kiddish. I'm like, because it's Minecraft. It's always been kiddish.
Yeah, but you
That's
have
like.
to think a lot of the
Oh no, go ahead.
a lot of the what is considered child animation has been fitted more towards adults, like Inside Out 2, like Super Mario. They have like these adult jokes for us because we're like, oh, we grew up on it, we're gonna see it, you know. And I feel like if Minecraft really is going the route of like, this is a kids movie, a lot of people would be annoyed, because it's the people who started with Minecraft being like, my movie's finally come out. Yeah, but it's for the kids, it's not for you.
Right.
A lot of times people don't
That's
get
like
that.
That's like if people were to get mad at the My Little Pony movie because it's a kids movie, because like the bronies co-opted. That I could see like that going into a.
What it is I think what they were expecting was more something like this. So this is the trailer for Minecraft Dungeons, but I think they were expecting something in this style, animated, like in the
Action-y.
Minecraft style, but it is still like, you know, like not the video game. Ignore the video game parts, but the way the animation looks and stuff like
the
that.
Dora movie.
Right, where it's still like animation. No, I mean like this. Like they wanted 3D rendered animation that looks like Minecraft.
Oh, I thought you meant like the like.
No, they don't want the
content.
dungeon. No, not the content. I mean, like they want it to look like this. They want it to still look like Minecraft.
Oh, who
with
cares
animation
about
with these
that?
block figures? And I'm like, this works for the internet. This doesn't work for a movie. I don't think a movie looking like this is what would like sell as well as a movie would. You know what I mean? Like with live action people.
I think
That's
they're
just my
probably
two
more upset about how like colorful it is. How it is. It looks like a kids movie for once. And I'm not surprised Jason Momoa is in that. Jason Momoa is just kind of doing. He's just really being like. Somebody asked him like, "Hey, do you want to be in this movie?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." Don't you want to know what it's about? Nope. He's like, as long as I can wear cool clothes, colorful clothes, and have long hair, I'm good.
So yeah, so that's like Minecraft. Like so, at the time of this recording, people aren't really feeling it, but that's okay, you know. Because they're probably still gonna watch it anyway. So what's it really matter? We also found out that well, first of all, 2 legends have left the acting game. One in an unfortunate way, the other in a fortunate way. We lost one, James Earl Jones. That's right, y'all. Mufasa is gone. / Darth Vader.
It's a little ironic
And
that movie's coming out
the
now.
Man from the Sandlot.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a shame. He will be missed. He passed away at the age of 93, and you know,
long life.
he was like, I love that a lot of my black peoples, they were out there like, y'all, the King of Zamunda is gone. And I was like, that's right, his best role ever, King of Zamunda, coming to America. And but he's just a phenomenal actor, done so many great roles. I based when I was in acting class and art at the Art Institute, I based my rendition of the Fences Why Don't You Like Me monologue off of his rendition of doing that same monologue when he played as Troy back in the day on the stage playing Fences. Like, the man's been doing everything from theater to commercials to TV to movies, and he's just an incredible actor. And we thank him for his service as to the arts and to entertainment. But in happier news, Kathy Bates retired officially from acting this past week as well. So hopefully,
we're happy for her, but
we are happy for her, but it is a little sad for us because Kathy Bates is an amazing actor. And
but I heard that she was finishing like whatever show or something she was on right now, and then
it says Matlock. There's like a teaser for Matlock, which she's working on, which I'm like, who is asking for Matlock back? That they did.
You say that about all the shows that are coming back. Who asked for this?
Because this is old. Like Matlock was
did.
around when my
Maybe
parents were
did.
young.
Maybe somebody's asking for stuff.
But I mean, hey, listen, if that's how Kathy Bates goes out, that's cool. I mean, it looks fine. Like the teaser looks all right. But I'm just happy that, not a lot of actors get the chance to retire, like, cause it's a hard business. Like acting is one of those things where you're pretty much freelance the entire time. If you don't act, you're not working in like your field. So it can be a real rough. And so I it's always a great thing when you can be an actor and you can officially just retire from acting and have had like a career that she had. So kudos to you, Miss Bates. It's been great.
One more RIP that we haven't mentioned on the podcast. Fat Man Scoop.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Whatever
I say, y'all gotta do.
Let's go now. Oh.
You got a $50 bill, put your hands up. You got a $20 bill, put your hands up. Love Fat Man Scoop.
But yeah, so listen to all the Fat Man Scoop music and just remember him because passed away on stage. He collapsed on stage.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that. I knew he passed away. I didn't know how he died.
Yeah. So R.I.P. Fat Man Scoop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and then last thing on the list, and this is more, we have to tune back in as always to the world's greatest reality television show, aka the 2024 election. Because at the time of this recording, we had just had the Kamala Harris Donald Trump debate. We're not going to get into the topics of the debate. There's other podcasts you can watch that talk about all those details and stuff in regards to like things that were said, whatever. The point is that most people assume that, not even assume, just know Kamala Harris won the first debate. So there's that. She's currently leading in the polls right now. It's still pretty close. It's 49% to 46%, but pretty much in all of the swing states except Arizona. Well, not even except Arizona. Like most of the swing states she's leading, and Georgia and Arizona are the only two where she's not leading, but that's because it's tied 48% to 48%. So it could easily tip over.
Well, it was just announced minutes before this recording. Kamala Harris wanted another debate. She announced that like right after the debate. And then Trump was saying, I don't know, maybe it was just announced that he said he will not do another debate. He's spinning it as, oh, I beat her so bad that she doesn't want to do, that she wants a redo, which, is not the case.
Let's keep it real.
I mean,
we all know what this is.
I mean, in all fairness, a lot of the times it seemed like he thought he was debating Joe Biden. So might not know that he's supposed to be debating Kamala a second time.
It's more like his Donald Trump was like, yes, I'll debate her again. Here his campaign team was like, give me the phone, give me the goddamn phone, give me the phone. No, the President elect Trump will not be signing up for a second debate.
Former president.
Yeah, former President Trump will not be signing up for a second debate. He has click. Like, we can't even come up with a good enough excuse. You were not doing no damn second debate. You said the people were out here eating dogs and cats. We didn't tell you to say that shit.
Oh my God. Did you see Springfield, Ohio literally had a press conference this morning to have an official statement. It wasn't a clarification. It was an official statement that there has never been a case, recording, incident such as that. So that's going to be like a fun thing for the mayor to do, like on a Thursday morning, have to like wake up and be like, all right, let me go say this official statement on national television to everybody in my town in front of everybody and be like, no, they're not eating cats and dogs here.
Listen, it's a good thing Beyonce just released her whiskey because the Trump campaign team is sipping it down like milk right now. Like, just trying to cope, just to get through the day.
You have to let out a whiskey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just released one.
Why?
Yep, and everybody is kissing its ass because I went to TikTok.
I'd be interested in trying it. I heard it's $85 though.
Like any real reviews, and most of the people who are like, all right, Beyonce, I'm trying your whiskey, and I'm like, and now I can turn off this video because whether it's trash or not, you're still gonna say it's good because you're clearly a Beyonce fan. So moving on. Yeah. But I'm mentioning the debate not because we want to talk about debate results, but because it caused even more of a tizzy when some of the Republican supporters found out that T-Swizzle, that's right, Taylor Swift, has officially given her endorsement to Kamala Harris. And for some reason, the Republican people are surprised. Despite the fact that Taylor Swift does not strike me as a Trump supporter, let alone a Republican supporter, let alone a non-supporter of the vice president of the president she supported on the last campaign.
For the longest time, before she became like super global megastar Taylor Swift, her politics were very ambiguous, and people were like, "Hey, girl, you're becoming bigger. Can you like speak up on some actual like world issues?" So after she got the pressure put on her, she was like, okay, I'm gonna throw my support, and since then she has supported the Democratic candidate.
That's it.
So
I don't think that's that. I don't think that's true because Taylor Swift doesn't give a shit about pressure. She has so many fans that had literally harassed people online, and like the movement she has, she's selling tickets like $1,000 a pop and still selling out stadiums. I think it was the fact that they put out that AI picture of her showing the support candidate, because only after that suddenly do you hear, oh, I'm going to vote for Kamala. It's like you were trying to force her to one side and she's like, okay, no. That's where I draw the line using my likeness. Now I'm going to be on the other side because you tried to use me. Because I think it's her who's like had a long like history of like anytime somebody tries to use her image or even her name, she like goes full force. She like burns shit. So like
she was coming for Kanye when he said he made her famous.
Yeah. So I don't think it's that she felt pressure. I don't think people like Taylor Swift or Beyonce, them feel any pressure from their fans. I
don't think it was pressure from the fans for this scenario, but I think she was pressured like back when people initially wanted her to speak out on issues because she was silent. And so she felt that pressure to speak out initially, like
racism, because ain't nobody said no shit to Megan Thee Stallion. She was on the stage. You saw her at the Kamala Harris rally, out here twerking on stage and everything. Ain't nobody came up to her, asked her opinion on who she voting for. Maybe that was just a gig. You don't know.
Just at the Kamala Harris. That's not just a gig.
It could be. People got to eat.
Anyway. Register to vote, people.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of old people out here talking bullshit, the front room.
That was better than mine because I was gonna talk about speaking of eating. Anyway,
I mean, it is a thing people do. Yes, it's something you shouldn't have done trying to watch this movie.
I was,
That is
trust me, I was sat there with my nachos and my cheese, and when a certain scene came on, I went,
Man, I wasted my money on this shit. God damn it.
I would have been fine with blood. Like, blood's fine. That's like, I feel like that's like messed up to say that I'd rather see blood, but I'd rather see blood.
but yes, The Front Room. It is the latest A24 film. It tells the story of a newly pregnant couple who are forced to take in an ailing, estranged stepmother. It's directed by Max and Sam Eggers, the twin brothers of Robert Eggers. And
So triplet brothers? Or
They're
they're twins?
triplets?
no,
They're twins.
They're the
they're
brothers
twins.
too. Oh,
They're
okay.
twins, and he's like their older brother, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It stars Brandy, Andrew Burnap, and Catherine Hunter. Those are the main three players in this film. Basically, if this is your first time listening to one of our reviews, we go through our non-spoiler thoughts. We'll give you a warning before we dive into spoilers, and then we'll see where we go. Alex, what did you think of The Front Room?
So I love Brandy. I'm so happy to see her back on the screen. Her acting is fantastic. Brandy has always been a fantastic actress, so that now that she's back, I'm hoping to see more for her. I can see the direction the movie wanted to go in. It wanted to basically, because the Brandy's character is pregnant, I think it wanted to talk about postpartum paranoia. It wanted to talk about the influx of family members and the trauma behind, your parents and things like that, and how you kind of feel like you owe them, even if you've never had a great relationship or even a good relationship with them. The way it's still this codependency that's there. I think a lot of those messages, I think those were the messages that were supposed to be there. However, they got a bit lost at times with certain scenes that were just like, and also I felt like the story didn't have the flow that it should have had. A124 is pretty good about their flows of their stories are pretty steady. This movie didn't really have that. It felt like they were almost jumping from like mildness to extreme, and then all of a sudden it was like the movie for me felt like it just ended. So it I I tried really hard to like it because again I do like Brandy and I do like the concept they were trying to go for and this like eerie supernatural element that's in there, but it's always A24. I mean, it could be purely psychological. They always have this like supernatural element just hiding, lingering around the movies. Um, the old woman, what's her name?
Catherine Hunter.
Solange, but Catherine Hunter
Solange.
is the actress.
Yeah. Well, the actress, Catherine Hunter, creepy as fuck during the whole movie. So I will give her that. She was fantastic in her role. She really made you feel uncomfortable at times. And I don't know, is this a spoiler? Well, yeah. Well, semi spoiler. At the funeral when she's all dressed in black, that was super creepy. I love that. I don't know what costume designer came up with that, but they did beautiful work. That outfit was so extra, and if I ever have to go to my husband's funeral, I want something like that. Something I could literally shrink into the shadows with. I think that was great. But I think there's a good amount to talk about with this movie, and it could have been more had just I think maybe the script had been a little bit stronger because the set was good, and when it came to it, the costume design was very good, trying to and kind of reflect the mood of the moment, and like I said with the funeral outfit, how she was kind of creeping into the shadows but coming back out and affecting the lives of this young couple who's just about to have a baby, and this kind of like dark energy she's gonna have in as the story continues. So but yeah, so right now that's what about you, Jerome? What are you thinking?
Eating
gonna grab this.
At least I eat before.
I want to close up on this. Hey, real quick, Robert, get your brothers, bruh. Get your brothers, because this ain't it. Okay, they ain't you. I want to make sure that's on record. All right, I'll put this back, because that's that I think sums up my feelings of this movie. I wanted to like this movie really bad, but nah. Okay. I will give you, Catherine Hunter's amazing. She really does like a phenomenal job in this movie. Her character acting is great. All of her scenes, she just eats up the scenery. She blows Andrew Burnap and Brandy out of the water in this movie. This is her movie, and every like even the grossest of gross scenes in this movie, I was sucked in to her performance. So, credit where credit's due. And cinematography in this is really gorgeous. It really is beautiful. Yeah. Like from first of all, the colors in the house just make it look great, but also even scenes outside of the house look fantastic. So I said some positive things, but Jesus Christ, first of all, this isn't a movie. This is a series of concepts, okay? It's a series of ideas. Like, we want to talk about postpartum, we want to talk about religious dogma and like the extremism or religious extremism. We want to talk about generational trauma from step parents to like, you know, to children or parent to children. All types of there's a lot of ideas. None of them get executed, and it's mainly because of the source material, to be quite honest, because the short story or the front room, I looked it up after watching the movie because I was like, I'm curious what the short story was. And the short story, I couldn't find like an actual transcript of it because it's like wrapped within a series of books, or a book that has a series of short stories in it by the same writer, Susan Hill. But the synopsis is basically that Brandy, like, you know, Brandy and Andrew Burnap's characters are religious themselves, which is why they take in the stepmother. But things get a little out of hand because they're nowhere near as extreme as the stepmother is the story. And then, you know, crazy things ensue, which I think would have been a better story than this, where there's no religious connection at all. And it kind of just paints Christianity as just like, Christianity's bad. And I'm like, well, no, it's not that the religion's bad, but there are extremists within the religion that is bad. And I'm not saying that they paint it that way because they believe that. I'm saying they paint it that way because there is no nuance to anything happening in regards to the talk about church or the discussion about religion or any of the other things that happen in this movie. There's no nuance in anything. It's just cool visuals. And while the visuals are beautiful, especially some of these mental sequences that are like hallucinations and things, like they're shot really well. They're really cool. They don't go anywhere because we don't know why they're happening. We don't know what they really mean. And they kind of just hint towards things. None of them are very like to the point of what we're trying to do. And in regards to performances, Andrew Burnap, he's barely in the movie, so he don't really show up. And I have to issue an apology to Beyonce for Obsessed, because while she was very like a little crazy, her delivery wasn't great. At least she had life in her damn delivery, because Brandy is sleepwalking through this movie for almost majority of it, outside of two scenes. She gets 2 scenes to actually act that day, and the rest she could have read her lines sitting like laying down in the bed for a nap with her hairnet on and everything, because she is so underplaying a lot of the emotion in this movie. Now that might not be her fault. That could be the direction. I can believe it if it is the direction, because I think for Catherine Hunter, she's just like, maybe they were very sucked into her performance and how fun, because she's the fun character. Brandy and Andrew have to play the straight people, so they don't get to really like have a lot of fun with the role. So maybe that might be a part of it. It could be a direction problem, but I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, like a good actor or a bad actor knows how to still take the material and do a little something. Now, Brandy been out the game for a minute, so maybe that also might be a part of it too. But overall, this movie is rough. It's not an F. Like, I don't think it's trash, but I do think it is like very disappointing. If you're coming just to see Brandy, I mean, she's in it. Don't expect like an Oscar level performance from her or anything like that. If you expecting the next Cinderella, this ain't that. So, you know, there you go. That's my 2 cents on it. Also, this movie is gross, y'all. So listen, don't get no popcorn. Don't get no nachos. Don't even get soda. Don't get any type of fluid or food that you need to put in your mouth, because I promise you it's coming right back out while watching this movie.
That's a fair statement. Jonathan, what about you? Were you able to keep your nachos down?
I was, thankfully. I have a hardcore stomach. But I probably tend to agree more with Alex's mixed review of the film. There were elements that I really enjoyed. The humor in this, I thought was really well done. And it's something that I don't think we see a lot of in this genre in particular, especially in an A24 film, which I appreciated a lot, especially with Catherine Hunter's, when she would be going into her spiels and her one-liners. There were moments when I was just on the floor. And some of the just like physical things that she was doing, I know she is like a very physical actor, and I think she showcased that well in this movie. I disagree that Brandy was in her shadow, because I do think that they had good chemistry and partnered well and went toe to toe very well. Especially in the parts where it's just like Catherine Hunter's character is so absurd and so out there, and Brandy, and to an extension, Andrew Burnap's characters are extremely grounded. And then they have to kind of like fight to get to, or they have to kind of like suppress themselves in order, like before they get to that point where they just ultimately, blow up, particularly Brandy. I thought that was very well earned at the end of the movie. For some of the things that I didn't particularly care for in the film, I just wish there was more, a little bit more. I saw someone say that this felt like a 95-minute short story, and I know that it was based off of the short story, and I kind of can see that. I wish we would have at least had some more, some other storyline that wasn't specifically about Catherine Hunter's character Solange, between Andrew. What are their characters' names? Belinda
Andrew.
and what's
Norman.
Norman. I wish we would have had some other conflict between Belinda and Norman that wasn't about Solange. Which I know we kind of had that with. We'll get into it, but I just wish we had another storyline that would have led somewhere else with that. I also thought it was slow in places, and it took a minute to get to where we ultimately got at the end of the movie. But I think there are some things to appreciate about this movie. Like I mentioned, the humor. I very much appreciated the tone. I'm not someone who really is like affected too much by the gross stuff, especially when I know it's fake. If it's real, if I know it's real, then I'm affected by it. But if it's fake, I'm not too affected by it. So I didn't really mind it. And it adds kind of another element of, oh, this is interesting. This is something I don't usually see in movies. So I'm intrigued. But other than that, it was mixed for me. I was really excited about this movie, and I still am, but it was ultimately like mixed for me. It was a mixed experience. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't the greatest.
Also, real quick, I just like we did this for Divorce in the Black, and I think it's something fun to do. Is maybe something fun to do is see the audience reviews from Rotten Tomatoes. First of all, this does not have a good Rotten Tomatoes score. It's 51% critic score, 35% audience score. So it's not doing so hot. But there are some decent audience reviews, I feel like. And some interesting bad audience reviews. One in particular that I'm like, this is not a review. What the hell is, I don't even know what this is. This one is 3.5 stars. The review is from Raymond W. This was a movie I didn't care for that much. I didn't like the way his stepmother treated his wife. She backed that woman in a corner, and I believe she got what she deserved. She put that woman through hell. That's the review.
Well,
3.5 stars.
I mean, he probably talked to with somebody who was like, "Oh, sympathy for the old woman."
This sounds
or
like a
like
piece of
stuff like that.
conversation. This doesn't sound like a review at all.
He's just agreeing
But-
with branding.
But there are some legitimate reviews. First of all, there's this one that is 4.5 stars from Allison K that reads, "Yes, repulsive at times, but that's what made it a bit challenging and shocking to watch. There are countless messages here that are important to catch. Don't go with an expectation to be terrified by gore and fright. Go ready to laugh and see some excellent and unique performances by Brandy and Catherine Hunter." We also got another one that is 5 stars from Jose A. And it's, even though the movie is good, it will make audiences lose their minds when they see it for themselves. And that's a 5-star review right there. So, and then this one's in the middle. It's a bit long, but I think it's kind of apt. From Yash B, says, "The front room gets some points for a tense atmosphere and somewhat interesting premise. I feel like the movie falls apart very quickly and eventually becomes gross and a chore to watch and not very scary. Catherine Hunter does a great job acting here, but the movie just never comes together to say anything meaningful or provide any thrills. At a point, I just started to dread the next repulsive thing it would show, and I was waiting for it to end. Overall, it is a movie with some cool ideas and decent filmmaking techniques, but the execution is not great, and I think it is a miss for A24 horror films." That was 2.5 stars. So it's kind of all over the place. A little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to the audience as well for this movie. I didn't read some of the 1-star ones because I feel like they're kind of reductive.
That's fair.
I feel like the moment in I feel like there's this thing where an audience, the moment an A24 movie, because there's apparently been this streak since like 2014 that A24 has had all fresh movies on Rotten Tomatoes, and apparently this movie breaks that streak.
I say Civil War broke the streak.
Yeah.
I heard this movie like broke some sort of streak.
I mean,
Yeah,
this one might be
A24.
worse than Civil War. I think Civil War got like okay reviews, all things considered.
Really? I don't think I heard one good thing about Civil War.
Yeah,
And
on Rotten
Literally a
sorry.
big chunk. No, you're fine. Literally a big chunk was California would never side with Texas. And
It
I was
has
like,
it has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and 70% audience score. So okay, then yeah, the front room probably is the one that like broke the Rotten Tomatoes streak. But I heard like people didn't like Civil War that much either, like the average person.
I don't think I ever heard one good thing about Civil War.
I mean, I heard
But
some good things, but
What
it was from critics mostly.
what I was gonna say is that I think there is this kind of bandwagoning that, oh my gosh, A24 is done for now, so we're just gonna hound on and we're just gonna tag on these reviews and show how bad A24 is. So I think there's a little bit of that in it as well, because I don't think the movie was that terrible. As terrible as some people are making it seem, because obviously the movie's gotten mixed reviews, and that includes
I'll tell
mine.
you what it is. It's the marketing. This movie was not marketed well because it markets this as a horror movie, and it's not. It wants to be, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe because of Robert Eggers' movies, like his early films, like The Witch, and
But even The Witch was not a horror film. It was a psychological thriller.
but that was marketed because they didn't know how to market it. So they marketed it as a horror movie. So a lot of people
Yeah.
consider it to be a horror movie. And even then, I forget the other movie that came out after that. That was also really good. The Lighthouse. And then you had The Lighthouse, which was kind of like another psychological thriller. But again, it was marketed like a horror movie. So I think whether this is be a A24 decision, because they used to be a distribution house. So I think they make their trailers in-house, as well as the movies they produce. But it's like whether it's their decision or Max and Sam, Eggers' decision, either way, they decided to market this movie as if it was a horror movie. And it's not. At least
it has
not
elements
on
of
the
horror.
I wouldn't even say it has elements of horror. It has elements of a thriller, maybe.
Wikipedia says
most of
The
those
Front
are
Room
the
is a
music.
2024 American psychological horror film.
I mean, I could see where certain scenes would fall into horror. When it comes to a lot of like bodily fluids and like visually gory scenes, not necessarily like bloody scenes, but like what is considered gory, would be immediately classified as horror, because in psychological thrillers, you don't really see often like the uses of actual body fluids, but more of like the implications, like somebody gets spilled, with a lot of red wine to simulate blood, or something similar to that. So when you're using more of a body effect and actual what is supposed to be actual fluids, I see that's where it crosses the line into a horror film.
Well, it's just like with the cut, because I get like the music for sure, and some of the imagery could probably be like really creepy. It reminds me of stuff like Midsommar, for example, which was like a lot of really eerie visuals. But at the end of the day, like there was something scary going on. This one, it starts that way, but after a while, it's like, especially the way this movie is edited and put together, you're like, ain't nothing scary happening here. A little weird, a little like extreme and disgusting, but not scary.
Yeah.
Because after a while, you kind of just get used to it.
Someone wrote a review on someone on a review qualified. They said that this movie had slapstick horror, which I can kind of see.
Like I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people say this is a black comedy, which for me, I'm like, it would have been funny if the joke wasn't the same the entire time. Because black comedies have jokes. This has joke. One, singular. And we will do that joke for the entire runtime of this movie.
But also like we all discussed the concept of this film and where they wanted to go, like postpartum issues, things that not even postpartum issues, but issues you have within your pregnancy, your first especially, and then postpartum issues, then what is past abuse, definitely with the mom and the son, or it's a stepmom, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's step parent. Sometimes like it confused me because I'm like, I swear they like said step parent, but the way they're acting, step parent, like that kind of codependency you have with your family, even if it's really toxic, and like all those concepts could have been great to use, especially for a psychological thriller. And I know a lot of people relate to that. This movie uses those, but in the same similar way, because the baseline of the story is so common. Interracial couple, having a baby. Oh, here's a mother-in-law who's religious and racist. Big surprise, and trying to get control over her son with using manipulation tactics. And of course, she feels like she can't say anything. She's uncomfortable in her own home until it all has the final big breakdown. And then eventually the interracial couple lives happily ever after. So many stories have occurred this way, especially with those taglines when it comes to interracial couples. Oh, the mother-in-law is definitely a racist and most likely religious. Oh, new baby. Oh, the mother-in-law is a horrible person. She's coming to, control everything in the situation. Or postpartum makes you paranoid, which it can, of course, but it makes you paranoid and suddenly it feels like there's supernatural elements. I swear I'm seeing this, but there's nothing there. There's nothing going on, but I swear I see it. It's the same repeated story, but they mushed all of them together. And that's why it almost felt like this movie had no proper flow to it. Because it felt like it was, it had no room to breathe. It was all chunked together. Once you're like, okay, she's not okay. Oh, here's this racist part. I kind of saw that coming. Oh, here's where her Christianity turns from Christianity into like that Christianity that feels like it's almost devil worship now.
Yeah, the
With the way they're praying
extremism.
and stuff. Yeah, the extremism, which now there's that supernatural element. Is she actually, a Christian, or is she summoning demons in her little prayer group and they're hiding it under Christianity? It's just the same. Every scene was a new, almost line from another movie that we've seen before. And it felt like the movie had no room to breathe. It was repeated storylines, and we ended up with something that was supposed to make us feel better in the end, make us happy. I'm trying not to spoil it.
Oh,
Brandy got what
let's
she got. Yeah.
let's just get into spoilers because I
Okay.
think we're there. We're there. So
Yeah.
audience, we're about to go into spoilers. So if you have
Oh,
not
man.
watched this movie, hop off and then hop back on after you've watched it, or if you just want to stick with us, stick with us.
Mm-hmm.
Alex.
So it looks like in the end, Brandy kills her mother-in-law. That's the spoiler. And that's supposed to give you like some sense of peace. I was like, yeah, she got her revenge finally. And it's like, but it also implies that she, killed her mother-in-law. So it's like, is that going to really bring her peace that she just killed her?
I really wish there would have been like some sort of stakes as to why she can't just kill her. Like maybe
Right,
if
because it's
if
well, it's more like
maybe
it's not
maybe
earned
if like
because of there's
well,
no
maybe,
stakes.
yeah, maybe if she like maybe the stakes are that like if she dies, then they lose all of the money in the house and stuff or something. Like so that way they need to keep her alive. Like they need to keep her alive, but they have to deal with her and her madness and her all her stuff. I wish there would have been something like that. Because all of a sudden it was just like, oh, you could have just killed her at the beginning of the movie, and then we could have not had to go through all of this. But yeah.
So here's a weird criticism I have of the movie, and it really has nothing to do with the movie, but it's actually why the movie was named The Front Room. So the movie has it that, Brandy and Belinda.
Yeah, Norman and Belinda.
Norman and Belinda go to Norman's father's funeral. That's where they see
Solange.
I hate their names, by the way. I just hate their names.
These are the names from the story. That's why these are their names.
Still, I hate the names. Solange, and she's there and she's creepy.
I'm
and
just
she's
saying,
like a fragile...
every time I heard the name Solange, I thought of Beyonce's sister Solange, the
Same.
artist.
I also thought that.
I don't mean to be mean, but I kept thinking about salami. That's all I thought about. I love salami too, though. So they meet Solange. She looks like a frail woman, and even though Norman clearly hates this woman, is like, yeah, just come back, come stay with us. And they put her in the front room, and the front rooms is, that room where she's inhabiting, that dark force is inhabited in the front room. My thing was that, like, they were planning to put the baby there. How are you going to put a child right next to the front door while y'all sleeping upstairs? How are you going to put your baby in the farthest part of your house, front door? Like, anybody breaks in, that's like the front room right there. Your child, and you're just like, oh yeah, we'll give it to mom's. But like, how are you putting your baby up there?
Well, first of all, it makes no sense for them to even not like, because they try to play it off of like, well, they had a baby, or they were gonna have a baby, and then Belinda had a miscarriage, and so there's a lot of bad memories.
That's another storyline I forgot.
Yeah, tied to the room that is next to their bedroom. But I'm like, yeah, but but the logic is still sound. You want the baby's nursery to be up there next to you because they're a baby. They're going to need you at a moment's notice, especially in the middle of the night. Like, don't put them downstairs. What if you need to get down there and you're too tired and you slip and fall off the stairs? Or they're crying. You forgot to turn on the baby monitor or something. They've been crying all night. You can't get down there because you can't hear it. Like, that's half the reason you put them in the room next to you. I know you're dealing with trauma. But, or at the very least, if the trauma's that bad, put the crib in your bedroom.
That's
Slide
what I was
the
thinking.
bed
I was
over.
like, just get like a bassinet. I mean, the babies are like this tiny. They only sleep for like an hour, 2 hours in periodic times at the moment. Just stick them in a bassinet in the room with you so you hear them. I was like, they have a whole, and like somebody breaks in. That's the first room they go to. Like, yeah, you're putting your baby in danger, putting that. And then they give it to the brother. I was like, well, that's a horrible place to put your baby. Like, keep him in the room. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not when it comes to, because this is like in relation to the ending, but also just the whole movie in general. All of Brandy's decisions didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, and because I'm like, it's because it's just not backed by like the information we get. Like, for example, so like we know that Norman really has a lot of bad traumas and memories in regards to Solange. And while I get Brandy being, or Belinda being like, well, yeah, but your dad died. Like, you gotta go to the funeral. I know it's hard, but you gotta go. Fair enough. I mean, it is his father after all, and she's trying to be a supportive partner. Fair enough. Then afterwards, they read the will, and Solange is like, hey, I'm gonna give you all my money, and I even sold the house, the old house, so you get that money too. All I ask is that you take me in, because that was your father's last wish. And Norman says no, because for him, that like the trauma's not like the bringing back up of the trauma's not worth it. He's not over it yet. He hasn't gone through therapy. He hasn't worked through what happened to him. Here come Belinda. Yeah, but we could use the money though. That is not a supportive partner. What the hell? It's not like y'all are hurting, like y'all can't function without the money. It's just it would be nice to have. I mean, she did lose her job, but still, it's like,
I thought she quit because her hours got cut down, so she was just like, I'm out.
They were cutting down, and so and the dude wasn't taking her serious, like the dean or whatever wasn't taking her seriously, and so she quit because she basically cut out the middleman. She's like, if y'all gonna cut my hours anyway, I'm just gonna quit.
All right, yeah, okay. I was like, all right.
Which, I mean, again, is also a thing where I'm like, as her husband, I'd be like, don't do that. We got a baby on the way and a mortgage to pay. I know it sucks, but maybe wait till the baby's born at least, and then we can figure out a new job situation. But anyway, but that, that neither here nor there. It's just those things where I'm like, but it's stuff like that where it's like, it has to happen because we need Solange to be in the thing. And I think in the short story, it's why it makes more sense. And I don't know why they made this change for them to also be religious. Like, they are also Christians. They just aren't as extreme as Solange is, which is a very common thing. Speaking of someone who's like spent my whole life around religion, like I've met people who they went from an extreme church and went to a more lax church. In fact, currently in the Christian community, that's the debate. The hot topic debate right now is the battle of the conservative Christians versus the liberal Christians. But anyway, like there have been shifts in the Christian community in that way of where you have some people who are like, yeah, I'm Christian, but I don't prescribe to this, like, these notions against the LGBT. I don't have any problem with women leading in the church. I don't have problems with, all these liberal ideas. And so I think this story would have benefited better if that was the case, because then it wouldn't have seemed so like dismissive of Belinda to just be like, fuck your traumas, we need money, bring Solange in here. Because that's how it feels. That's not how she said it, but that's how it feels. Because it's like, this man was willing to miss his father, and birth father's funeral because of this stepmother's actions towards him as a person. He can't even be in the same room as her without being reduced to like that same scared child he was when he first sees Solange. And this is the person you're like, oh, come on, Norman, let's just let her back in the house. Really? That didn't make no sense.
You know what this movie kind of weirdly reminds me of? Like a Reddit post. I convinced my husband to give his stepmother,
am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole now? Now she's been a bit racist. We find out by the way, they bring up that she was part of the Confederacy, the Daughters of Confederacy.
Yeah, the Daughters of the Confederacy.
Which they're the ones to thank for all the Confederate soldiers and the more nicer view of the Confederates. But I digress. So it feels like a Reddit post where she's like, am I the asshole? I made him go to the, his father's funeral. And when he said no because of his trauma, I said, we need the money. And the money was good. And then everything started getting weird. Am I the asshole now that I want to kick her out, even though he's siding with her? Like,
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm glad. You better be glad I wasn't Norman, because I'm like, this is gonna be the greatest "I told you so" in history right now. Oh my god, you cannot believe I'm gonna bring this shit up decades from now. We're gonna be old people ourselves, and you're gonna be like, you didn't take the trash out. Remember that time I told you about my stepmother though?
Yeah, but Norman also was not without his faults as well, because
listen,
no, yeah.
Norman is also shit too. I'm just saying, Belinda's the one that started it. Started all this, all this pain and misery.
She was full on damn near 9 months pregnant, and he's like, baby, I'm sorry, I can't help with any of your child, your labor stuff. She could have gone into labor and she was just on her own, and he had to leave to go to work.
He didn't say he couldn't help her with that. He said he couldn't help her with Solange. That's what she was complaining about. She's like, I'm just here by myself with your stepmother. You the one who wanted her here. So you the one who can deal with the issues. I got to go to work because, I'm the only one with a fucking job.
No, but before that, when she was pregnant, when she was just pregnant though, and Solange wasn't even there, he still was ditching her.
That is true. Yeah, he wasn't. Now, listen, no, Norman's shit too. First of all, where was he most of the time? When he wasn't at work, he'd be at home. But we get whole scenes with Solange and Belinda by themselves. I'm like, Norman, where are you? She needs
somewhere in that creepy ass house. By the way, how you gonna raise a child in what looks like something that came out of The Conjuring?
What, that house?
Yeah, that house.
Looks like something creepy.
Yeah, like paint some colors. It's okay to have colors in your household. Yellow.
Maybe
orange,
they're closer to his side of town. So
I just like it's a lot of like, I'm like, no, both of them suck. And it's not the actor's fault, it's the script. But I'm just saying, like, them as characters, no. I will say though, I liked a lot of like I like, it's, you know what it is, I still do think Catherine Hunter kind of acts circles around Brandy, but it's only because it's not so much Brandy's fault, and that's why I say that's why I said, like, it may be the direction on it. It may not be entirely her, because like Solange is like the crazy one. So a lot of her scenes require more of her as an actor. She's not playing the straight woman. She's playing the zany out there character. And so it's just a lot of just like her doing a lot of the work. Now I will say Brandy does like one thing she does have down in this movie. She can cry on command, just on a whip.
Yeah.
The tears was falling. And I'm like, and so those scenes were great. Love that stuff from Brandy. Although that's the other thing. When she gives birth to the baby and then they take her to the hospital and then she comes back and all the furniture's changed. Her friends are in there or whatever. And Belinda just has like a mental breakdown, which fair because she just had a baby. She's tired. She's exhausted. Like she's in a very sensitive state. So that makes sense. However, it's like after that scene, Belinda just gets a whole personality transplant where she can't stand nothing Solange does from that point forward. And I'm like, and it's only weird because before that, she is so nice, almost too nice to a degree. And I'm just like, at what point are you going to like cuss this lady out? Because I would have at this point, like before
after the baby.
Like, you know what I mean? You talking smack about my damn greens, talk about they too salty and stuff, and I'm gonna lose my damn mind.
I think maybe the switch point. I think maybe the switch point was that now she's had the child, she's more protective of her child and her space. That she's gonna go off on her at any certain point. The child wasn't in the picture before, but now that she is, it's like, oh, this is my house. But then again, like to your point, like there is like being pregnant messes with your hormones. So a lot of times, like women who are pregnant are more emotional. So in that sense, she probably should have been more emotional and like, you know, like reactive to the things that Solange was doing. But yeah, yeah, it's kind of conflicting there.
Yeah.
I think her character beforehand, before giving birth, I think is actually a surprisingly good reflection of how we kind of deal with older people's nonsense sometimes. Because like the racist stuff started coming out and the creepy religious stuff started coming out. And the thing is, when there's a 70-year-old telling me something a little bit racist, I'm usually like, you're gonna die soon. I don't want to waste time correcting you. Um, and you're not actually doing any harm. So I'm like, I'm gonna head out. And I think it's kind of speaks to that where she's like, oh, she's an old woman, she's just spouting shit, whatever. She's like, I got more stuff to worry about. I got a baby coming, I gotta deal with everything. And I think it's just after the baby comes out, you're right. It's a more protectiveness over her domain in a way, because it also feels like it's almost like the battle of the mothers. Who's really the mom in the household? Who's the one who gets to make the decisions? Who's the one who's Norman's going to agree with? When the child grows up, now that it has the grandmother there and the mother there, which is the child going to be closer to? Who's going to spend more time to? And I think that speaks to a lot of volume for women who suffer from postpartum depression and either stay at home or have to work. It's that wanting to bond with your child immediately. And unfortunately, sometimes, just like with Brandy, that bond, they romanticize pregnancy and giving birth so much. And the truth is, it's a gross event. It's disgusting. It's beautiful, but it's gross. And some women, because of postpartum and other emotions, have a hard time bonding with their baby. Even the first few days they're there. And I think that this movie was, at least in the second act, that's what it was trying to say. That the baby she wasn't bonding with the baby, and then all of a sudden the baby is bonding with the grandmother, and now she's getting more and more infuriating because it's feeling less like her home. And she's like, I just want my child, but even though the child's physically there, she feels like she can't have it. And then it's like losing her child all over again. And it's just, making her slowly go more insane. And then almost the need for control too comes out, like Solange's behavior with the need for control. It's starting to manifest in Brandy and the way she's behaving. Although hers is more justified because Solange is there and she kind of initiated the fight in a way. That makes sense, yeah.
I just feel like, especially because in the beginning, it'd be one thing if it was racist stuff, but she doesn't say anything racist in the beginning. It's just overstepping, like with the baby name thing.
Yeah.
When she's like, what's the baby's name? And she's like, it's Fern. And then she names the baby.
In all fairness, that's a stupid name.
I mean, it is, but then behind, it'd be one thing if like that scene happened and then like she was like, you know what, maybe we'll consider it or ever. No, they don't say anything. They're like she just kind of looks at Norman and is like, that's kind of weird. And then behind closed doors where she could be like, I don't know who this old bitch thinks she is. The damn baby name is Fern. We both agreed on that. That's what's gonna happen. She's like, I mean, Lori does sound good. And I'm like, that's kind of rude for someone else to come in and just name your baby. Like,
yeah.
I didn't quite understand the reasoning as to why Belinda just succumbed to that name so easily.
I think
and why
it's
she
supposed
was
to.
like,
Sorry, I was gonna say. I think it's because this is my other problem. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want this movie to have supernatural elements, but then they don't go anywhere because they she
like
names
in
the
the
baby.
sense that like Solange is like the supernatural, like she can she when the necklace that she gives the baby doesn't cry anymore, and like she names
or when
the
she's
baby
praying, then Belinda goes into labor, like all the thing, even at the end when she dies, now the baby is connecting. And I'm sure there is supposed to be this commentary on like what you were saying, Alex, of the battle of the mothers, of this idea of like this other presence, in this case like a grandmother trying to step in and kind of sidestep the mother so the baby's not connecting. So anything connected to the grandmother brings the baby peace. Anything regarding their actual mother, the opposite. And so I'm sure that's there. The problem is that they try to make, that's where they are trying to add these horror elements. Like it's a dark thing, like it's a bad thing. And instead of it kind of being a thing that's more, I guess, like more, has more commentary to it. And I say that because it's like we're coming off of Blink Twice was our last review.
Yeah.
And that movie did such a great job with how it handled its concepts and displayed them in ways that even if they don't say what's happening or they don't like make a point, you know, they don't have like that Barbie moment where we get a like 2-minute long monologue explaining the plight of the of the women in the movie. It's like, no, because we don't need to. We're showing it to you. We're giving you the visuals so you can understand the experience, not because we're telling you the experience, but because you can see it in our faces. You can see it in our actions and things like that. And this movie, to their credit, I think they're trying, but it's just the way it's done. It's too much of a, and maybe it's because of the religious element added on top of that. It's kind of murkying the waters a little bit, but because they say in the movie that Norman is describing, he's like, yeah, Solange believes that like she has like powers from God, and so that kind of like I think if that line wasn't in there, maybe it would be more clear that this movie's about the combating of the, you know, older parent who wants to control everything and a younger parent or a new parent who's trying to establish their own dominance within their own house against another parent, you know? And
Oh,
so
don't
it's
forget the storyline where all these things keep happening, and at a point, what's his name? Norman believes that Belinda is the one doing it, like biting the kid and
yeah, which that went
just
nowhere and made no
yeah. I
sense.
wish
Yeah.
that would have, because
He's
like you
like, oh,
really
you pushed my
believe.
mom down and then you bit our child.
Mm-hmm.
Which, first of all, if you bit my child, if I believe you did it, I am not coming to you about it. I'm leaving. First of all, I'm leaving, get my baby to safety. Secondly, I'm gonna be like, hey, let's me and you talk outside the house. Like, ain't no I'm bringing the baby to you and asking you, did you do this? If you already think she did it, why you bring the baby? What, you bringing the baby back so she could get seconds? Get a second bite in?
You know, yeah, that was a weird moment where he's like, it's almost like he was going to be like, put your teeth here. Let's see if they line up. Because the way he like, because he was like holding the baby and he's like showing it, but he kind of raised the baby a little bit too. Almost like he was like, bite it again. Let's see if it lines up.
I didn't. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. I was going to say, I think where this movie really went wrong, I think they wanted to show it from the perspective of Belinda's character, where we're focusing on her, and then all of a sudden it's like, I need to be passive to get along with the mother-in-law. I need to fix a relationship between her and my husband. To now it's the battle between mothers and, you know, the older generation, younger generation. Even though something may work from the older generation, it doesn't matter. It's about my parenting and what I want my kids to be raised at, you know, whether religious wise, because things like that, you know, the factors of religion, things like a little more crazier. I don't think they allowed us to become part of Belinda's like
mindset.
Perspective. Yeah, mindset. Yeah. Because like with Hereditary, you really connected with the mom. Every time she, you know, couldn't help but breathe, you felt it. When she heard those clicking sounds, you felt that. In Don't Talk to Me, when they used another A24 film, that character, when she would grab the hand, you felt that like pull too, because how well that character was able to put you in whenever she touched the hand to be possessed. I don't think they allowed us to feel what Belinda was feeling because they kept her a little too docile in the first act of the film. So you were more connecting with the mother's crazy and you're like, oh, she crazy. Getting more crazy. So you're more focused on the mother than Brandy and caring about where it was going for her. And then when things started to get mad, you weren't, ironically, connected enough with Brandy's character for the rest of the film. So you weren't seeing things through the eyes of her, where like when the stepmother was getting more crazy, maybe that was just Brandy's perspective. Maybe that was Belinda's perspective. And it wasn't actually as crazy as it seemed.
That's what I thought they were going to
get attached to her. Yeah.
I thought they were gonna do that. Was that like all this time? It's like actually she's been just a regular stepmom, a little kooky, but it's never been like as bad as we've seen it in the movie. And that was gonna be the twist of like Brandy is having a hard time, but not in a bad way of like and then she like goes crazy and goes to an asylum or something. Like no, it's postpartum like that. And that's why I thought the whole theme was going to be, this is just what postpartum kind of feels like.
Yeah.
Is you kind of feel like everything is crazy and out of your control. And, you know, you're dealing with a lot of new emotions, especially having a new baby. Like now you have this new being in your life that you have to take care of from birth till they die. And it's just like a lot of this stuff, but we don't go there. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I thought that's where we kind of,
I think it's because they didn't
started.
allow us to connect with Belinda's character in the first act. We didn't start seeing things from her perspective. And then, yeah, when we should have been seeing things from her perspective, you know, the wild, crazy religious stuff, you know, because I remember growing up in the church, they did prayer circles. It wasn't weird when I was a kid. It's creepy to me now, but like, that's actually a normal thing that a lot of church women do. You know, they surround a person, they're trying to pray. It's their way of, you know, if you are that religious, it's a way of comfort. It's knowing that you're surrounded by by people who care about you and who, you know, want to help you in a spiritual way or any way they can. And it's actually a very nice sentiment. But if you see it from, you know, somebody who's kind of very stressed going on and trying to find a way to bond with her baby, her hormones are everywhere, her, you know, emotions are everywhere, having a bunch of people surrounding you repeating the same words is going to make you feel very uncomfortable and make you feel like you're unsafe. And it could have been that the stepmother's controlling aspect was still there, but just intensified by Brandy. I think they wanted us to connect with Brandy so much more, but we just didn't. And I think had we had that perspective view, or at least attached ourselves to that perspective view, I think the movie could have ended up being better, but they didn't do that for us.
Yeah, especially because they waste a lot of time in this movie with the poop and pee jokes and the montages. Like,
let's get
so
into that
many
gory
montages of just like her just peeing on, and that's why I say like I can't give this movie the credit of a black comedy because, granted, there are a few moments that are a little goofy, like when she walks over without her canes and Brandy sees it, and then she's like, oh, it just fakes falling over, and I was like, okay, that's funny. because she knows she caught. She knows she caught, and she's just like, oh, you don't see me, I'm gonna just stand still. It's that thing kids do of like, if I stand still, you can't see me. It's like, I can see you. I can visually see you.
Well,
and so that was funny.
I also thought Catherine Hunter's delivery of the lines she was saying, I thought were spot on, and her cadence was very
but
funny.
I will say there were times it was hard to know what she was saying because she got deep now.
But I think that was part of the charm of it. Like, you have to kind of listen to what she is saying. You have to pay very close attention to what she is saying in order to get the joke. And sometimes I didn't know what she was saying in full anyway, but she just said it a funny way, so it was funny.
But a lot of the gross out of the poo, like, because at first it's just like, okay, this is just, you know, she's old, she's dying. Okay, this is just a thing. And one could look at it as this is like the horror of what it is to take care of a parent who is past the point of being able to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Which it can, for some people, be nerve-wracking, especially because it puts you in a position because you can't just kick them out. They are family, you know, and if the reason you're kicking them out is just, I don't want to deal with you, basically, is what it is, it can kind of hurt. Like, you don't want to say that either, because that hurts their feelings. It makes it feel like you're treating them like trash, even though like there was once a time when you were out here shitting and pissing everywhere. You were a baby, but they dealt with it, and so now it's like, you know, you feel like it's a little bit your charge to kind of do the same because you love them, you take care of them. Now, granted, this is a unique situation because Norman doesn't have a lot of love for this woman, and Belinda doesn't know her. So it's a little bit different, but it still is kind of the same emotions of This is family. You just got to deal. So so in that sense, it is interesting. But after a while, it just becomes a thing, especially because we see the toilet, we see the things, we see them carrying her around, like all the stuff. And it just happens over and over and over and over again. And it's so unnecessary because after a while, you're like, I get it. She's gross and she's doing this on purpose to get at Belinda. I get it. All right. I got it the first time. And the movie's like, no, I don't think you do. I don't think you do get it. How about you enjoy some of this for another 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 minutes? And it's like, we have so much more we could be doing right now.
It also, like, I understand maybe if they use those scenes to, like, when Belinda and Norman are arguing and they now have to deal with literally cleaning up shit and piss. That's going to, like, weaken the relationship even more, especially for a woman neither of them like. It was just like one scene. It felt like a montage going on at certain
points.
It was a
montage.
montage.
They actually did montage it because it was supposed to be the passage of time as the baby grew from like a newborn to be about 1 year old, I think. So I think it was supposed to be like a year.
I think I kind of blacked out. I was like, it felt like a montage, but I stopped.
I went and used the bathroom. I left.
Yeah, because I kept like looking down because like I said, I'm cool with like I feel like I should be, but I am. I'm cool with blood and like gory films and like. Even, like, if somebody wets themselves in a horror film or something, you know. But, like, this was just everywhere and constant. And so I kept... This is a scene you're going to look away and you're going to, like, not pay attention to because you're like, all right. Okay. All right. So you'll end up just kind of staring at something. I think somebody pulled out their phone while I was in that movie. Because then I started looking at their phone being like, I wonder who they're talking to. I wonder who they're trying to relate to. There's just shit on the screen.
It was literally. It was excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got. It's a thing, and I mean, again, it's like there's some fun in there, like the whole MESS mess line. I thought that was kind of clever, and I liked and her little like grin when Norman's back was turned was like was charming. It was charming.
Funny.
Yeah.
But it's the thing where it's like they did it once, then they did it a second time, then they did it a third time. And it was like, okay, it was fun the first time. You don't need to keep doing it. We know she's not. We know that she's faking it. Like, do you think we don't know that? And it's just that. It's a lot of that of just the movie repeating itself instead of moving on so that we can flesh out these concepts harder, because there's some great concepts. I don't think I've seen a lot of movies that talk about postpartum from this angle or talk about religious trauma from this angle, or you know what I mean. You have some great concepts, but the movie, it's like they get stuck. They don't know how to. They know how to introduce the concepts. They don't know how to flesh them out to the end of the movie. And so in the middle, we kind of just lollygag for a lot of time, doing a lot of the same things over and over again and repeating ourselves.
And like with that, like basically montage of shit and piss, and you were right, they're trying to show like the horrors of taking care of like an elderly parent or patient. But there's also so many, I don't want to say other horrors. I don't want to be disrespectful like that, because a lot of, people that are in that situation have no longer control. But it's, stuff like that, or having to bathe them, having to get their medication on ready, having to feed them. Sometimes, they complain because...
Which she did bathe them.
Yeah.
She did bathe her.
She did have to bathe them. Which I don't know. Would I have had my husband bathe his stepmom? At that point, I don't know what I would have done. We had the money.
You have to. Yeah, somebody has to do it. And I guess if you're tired of doing it, you just be like, hey, listen, your shift is up. Just like it's just like having a baby. It really is. Except the difference is they're not this as cute.
Woman can make eye contact with you.
Babies do too. They be staring at you the whole time.
No, babies are gurgling, going like, oh my God, look at this. They are so focused on the world around them because they're discovering it. And it's so cute when they're discovering it.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only difference is they're not as cute. Yeah. Old people ain't as cute most of the time.
It's that. There's like other horrors, quote unquote, to show of taking care of an elderly parent who's losing function of themselves than just like constantly cleaning up their waste over and over again. And then the falling down thing over and over again. It's like, okay, maybe put her in a wheelchair at that point if she can't stand up or something. Clearly she's not doing her cane, so put her in the chair, in a wheelchair, help her become mobile that way. So it's like a lot of that is like, you're right, it's the repetition.
Or if they had enough
no-
money, if they had enough money, they could have just invested in one of those wheelchair lifts that goes on the stairs.
No,
And
because then
they
she'd
could've-
be, at least they could get some separation with her being downstairs. All right, she could get upstairs. Now we just got to deal with her shit all
Well,
the time. Literally,
They wanted her up. They wanted her to like bring her upstairs in the beginning, and then she's like, "No, I can't go upstairs."
I mean, that's true.
Also, okay, so speaking from a person who has really bad arthritis in their back, and I'm starting to get in my hip. My doctor told me it's the falls you have, the traumatic falls that are going to get you, that can, cause me serious injury. This woman's older, right? Let's say she's in her 70s, 80s. She already
Probably her
complains about
80s.
having, she's already complaining about having bad knees, everything hurts, blah, blah, blah. This woman keeps falling. How does she not break a hip? How does she not break a knee? How does she not break anything? Because she just drops. When she's
did
caught,
chip a tooth
she just drops.
when she,
But like,
It's
found
those
the tape.
supernatural
Oh, yeah.
powers.
yeah, I kept thinking that that must have been it, because I was like, I take one hard fall, I'm out for a good week. Like my body hurts, man. I'm like, you're like 80, you're mostly bones, and like you complaining about everything. Like you should have broken so many things, which I
Like
think
that.
could have been another major factor had the person been like injured, and now she can't even get up for herself. Now you really have to like wait on her hand and foot, and that stress with a new baby. It's like, okay, that adds a new element to like the struggle of things. But yeah, they just kept having her drop, like when Andy comes in and the Toy Story toys gotta drop. Andy's coming.
Like the thing about this too is that, like, I don't understand, and it's because we don't see it because the man's not in the movie enough. The whole thing with Norman being on her side, like that didn't make sense to me either. Because I'm like, if this dude is so traumatized by this woman, there's no way they would have the time to reconcile in a way where he's just like, I mean, even if she apologized, he would still be like, I need some time, like, away from you. He wouldn't just be like, all right, I guess we'll hang out at your bedroom in private for multiple nights to the point they're even closing the door when Belinda comes by to be like, she doesn't need to hear that conversation. Dude, it's like, no, I'm sorry. That would not happen. I'm sorry. That wouldn't happen.
Well, actually, no, I think it would, because trauma is a funny little thing. You end up, bonding a lot with those who can abuse you, and it's easy to fall back into those like old habits of abuse and manipulation and control. That's why it's usually good to just cut out those people who have done that, your whole lives, and why they're always like, maybe I shouldn't let them back in because I end up knowing what's happening. But people are always like, oh, forgive and forget, family's family. And then you're like, okay. And then they do insane shit, and you're like, and everybody's like, why didn't you warn us? I told you. Like, now what am I supposed to do?
That's fair. That's fair.
So
That's
like that can happen, but at the same time, it was also a little creepy that he kept shutting the door. I was like, it gave me creepy vibes. So
I did appreciate that in one scene where he was like, "Oh, she would only let me watch VeggieTales as a kid," and Belinda's like, "Oh, that is past my time." I appreciated that little nod to their age gap.
I mean,
Because
I would appreciate
there
it
is-
more if and this is no one's fault. This is no one's fault. The director, the casting, nobody. It's just a fact of like, listen, again, like just like we were talking about with the Megan Good situation, divorcing the black. Brandy does not look older than him. She
That's
is
what I'm
older
saying.
than him.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like I was
But she
gonna
looks
say
like
that.
she's
Like
his
Brandy,
age.
Brandy looks like she's his same age. But
Yeah, she
this
does.
is
She
this,
looks
and
fantastic.
maybe this is me biased because I know how old Brandy is and how long she's been around, and the audience generally probably knows how long Brandy's been around. So, seeing her with this guy who is like young, I thought it was good that they made a reference to it.
I'm sure there was something to that, and the idea of like you have these two women who are older than Norman who pretty much just tell him what to do. He
That
hasn't
it's like they're
Yeah.
both his mom.
Yeah, they're both like domineering in different ways, and it's only because he allows them to be, because he's, you know, the traumas he suffered from his stepmother, he kind of just like reduces into himself when he's faced with challenge. It's why she quits her job, and he doesn't say to her, "Why the hell did you do that?"
Yeah, or be
'Cause he's
upset.
scared.
Like, we needed to talk about that.
Right.
Don't make
This is something
decisions
that maybe-
without me.
Yeah, maybe something we should have discussed, considering we're about to have a child. Like, if we weren't, then maybe I'd be cool with it. But I need you to kind of have some income coming in, because I can't support this whole house by myself just yet until I make partner. Which that was also a weird thing of the like, I'm so close to this promotion, and I feel like Belinda would be like, I don't give a damn about no damn promotion. You about to be promoted to the heavenly choir in 5 seconds if you don't stay your ass home and help me take care of this old woman.
That was probably the most frustrating conversation in the movie for me, when he's like, I gotta go. I'm sorry. I gotta make this money.
I mean, he did. I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. But however, after that pastor comes over,
But also,
he's
he
like,
couldn't just sit still, because he knows they have a whole bunch of money now that his dad died and his stepmom is there. So he couldn't just take a pause and be with his newborn child.
Listen, just because you win the lottery doesn't mean you stop showing up at your day job, all right? That's finite money.
That
It's not
absolutely
replenishing.
means it does. Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
You take a
You're telling me
take
you
a
would
sabbatical.
clock in tomorrow if you
Okay,
won
but
the
you still got to
lottery.
put in the PTO time, all right? And then it's got to be approved, and then they need to know you're never. And it's not like he could just drop his job. He's a lawyer. Well, he's just going to be like, he's just going to show up, he's like, not show up to court, be like, hey, bro, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, just tell him you didn't do it. I don't know. Fuck it. Bye. He's got to show up to court.
Well,
That's the
Paternity
contract.
leave
He
is
has
He's
to
not
do
a
that.
very good lawyer.
Equal
if they're
rights,
broke all the time.
paternity leave.
Yes,
Sorry, what,
paternity
Alex?
leave. No, I agree. Paternity leave is important because the father also needs time to bond with the baby. But also, you must be a shitty lawyer if you're not making any money enough. Like, maybe, yeah, quit your job. Try some other law firms. Maybe a nice one. Because if you're making partner, if you're barely making anything to survive your family in your creepy ass, house, but you still don't got enough money for anything, you had to like take in your stepmother. Either you're not getting a lot of cases, or the firm's not sharing money with you. Why are you trying to become a partner? Just go to a different law firm. Quit that job. Go like spice up your fix up your resume. Like, I don't know what lawyers do. Learn more laws and stuff. I don't know how that works. Because I'm like I'm like around the doctor's office. Well, I'm around a doctor's office. I know they go to like meetings and they go to conferences and they learn like, oh, here's this really cool new maneuver to do surgery and stuff. I don't know lawyers have that. I don't know. Do they go to meetings and be like, here's a brand new law. Here's this. You have to. Here's this. I'm sure lawyers have conferences, right? That seems like a.
I think so.
I mean, probably.
I realize I know nothing about lawyers, but it's like that. Maybe go like, maybe put out to bigger feelers or like do something more. Like, you can do more. It's okay, But yeah, no, paternity leave is important for fathers too. They need to bond with their kids.
Well, it's just like also the more like for me it was when the pastor came by and he was like, "Yeah, Solange already paid you guys' mortgage." The second I hear that, I'm like, doot 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 doot. Hello, nearest nursing home and/or hospital. Yeah, get a room ready. you go have
with
a check
a sturdy lock
immediately right now. How much extra would it cost for you to take her tonight? Because that means the only reason you've been in here is because you've been paying these bills. But you already got the bills, and now I'm sending your ass to a home. You can drive them crazy.
Like a nurse to help out randomly throughout the day.
Yeah,
like
maybe
even a
that would have been the
part-time
happy
nurse.
medium.
Well,
that
they
would have been
said
the happy
she
medium.
she offers that, and that's before the pastor tells them that their house is paid off, and he's like, "We need our money to pay off the house, so we can't afford a nurse because all the money's wrapped up in paying the mortgage and extra bills that we have behind." And I'm like, "You mean to tell me you ain't got no type of money?"
Yeah, because wait a minute, Solange sold the house that the father used to live in. She gave all the money the father had, so there's that. Unless they straight up just like paid off all bills. It more like everything went to the bills immediately. They're back to zero, but they should have gotten a chunk out of bills out of the way. How much debt are you in?
Right, that's
Like,
what I was saying. I was like, you mean tell
like
me
a
you got
whole
no type
ass
of...
and yeah, the whole ass inheritance is gone. Bills are paid. Like what? How much debt are you in? And then mortgage paid off, and y'all still can't just afford a part-time nurse. Maybe come check in on her at night, or when she's getting creepier at night. Maybe that's when the nurse comes.
I think the
Children's
nurse would
Day.
have been good because if they would have just sent her to a home, I think like that human element, you, no matter how wild and crazy she is, you would have felt guilty in the fact that she just paid off your home and now you're just sending her off away to live in this nursing
No,
home.
Norman would feel guilty. Belinda knows this lady's on some bullshit. All right, she be out here pretending like first of all, she be praying weird. All right, she prays like a goddamn gecko on the side of the road trying to bathe in the sun. All right, she be praying sprawled out like this, like she's out here trying to reenact Superman or something. We can't have that in here. She got me out here thinking she
was
passed
playing
out.
possum.
That's right. Secondly, she played the radio too damn loud. Thirdly, she be out here pretending like she pissing and shitting herself on accident. And then the second your back turn, Norman, she looks at me with a grin like, that's right. He mine, girl. Guess what? And now so is this room, bitch. You go into the nursing home.
The house is mine. The house is mine. When she... That was their A24 was literally using that in their tweets. They were like using that in their tweets for this movie.
I love the idea of her just singing like Impossible instead of, I mean, they had her singing that like No Regret song. I was like, no, you gotta ever sing Impossible. You know what I mean? It writes itself.
Gotta be on the nose. I would love it if she just burst out singing like that.
I just like thinking of the ending. How do we feel about this ending? Because we talked about this with Blink twice too. This is now the second movie with an ending where it's like, so you're the villain. because it's like, don't get me wrong.
But this one's more clear cut. I feel like
this one is way more clear cut. Blink twice, at least there's a question of like, well, maybe she might do right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it looks bad on paper, but she might end up actually doing some good in her current position. This movie, I'm like, nah, you just straight up murdered somebody. Like, even if the reasoning being they were getting on my damn nerves. That's it. That's the reason.
When you could have just put them in a home.
Right. When you could have just put them in a home, got a nurse, done a lot of things.
Left your husband, took the baby and just left?
Well, actually, heck, Norman was kicking her out of the house because she bit the baby anyway. So she was leaving. She was on her way out.
Oh, that's right. Which good for Norman. I mean, he's not standing out for himself, but he's standing out for his child.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I was like, the ending, you kind of just get an ending. It almost felt like they didn't know how to finish it. And it was like, oh, well, somebody has to die, to be the winner. And it's like, all right, so she smothered her I was going to say stepmother, but it's like mother-in-law, just randomly during the night. And like, I think, again, had they made us connect more or showed us more through Brandy's or Belinda's perspective in the first act, made us connect with her there, and then we felt the crazy and like her fear and panic during the second act. The third act, where or the end at least, where she's killed it, you could feel the justification. Like, yeah, I can, she had to do what she had to do for her peace of mind and her family and her power. And like, you could almost, again, had you seen it from her perspective or connected with her perspective, you could have justified the murder. Because you did it with Blink twice. You kind of justified. You're like, well, now she's kind of putting everything they went through with him, and now she's able to have this power that she's always wanted to. And, you just don't get that because you never connected with Belinda. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, she killed her mother-in-law. Okay, that's not very creative. Or, it could have been like a nice battle had Belinda and Solange fought. Like, physically, like, she's like, I know your game. You're leaving the house.
She's like, all right, sick of this shit. Put your hands up.
Yeah. Like
I
Solange is like, we
will.
going for it.
I will give props though to the trailer editors though, because that first trailer, the first scene we see in that trailer is her driving and singing, and I'm thinking, oh, this is the beginning of the movie. And so when I don't see that scene until I'm like, I remember that scene where she's driving and singing,
Yeah.
and I don't see that scene in the movie, and then it's at the end after she died. I'm like, oh, okay, that was creative. Where
Which
I will
makes it
take those.
even
Where
worse because
well,
she is a
listen. Where I will, well, okay, yeah, that part. But where I will take those props away to the editors is I watched the trailer, the second trailer after I watched the movie. I was showing it to a coworker. I watched the second trailer, and it pretty much gives away the whole entire plot down to where Belinda is saying she got what she deserved and she's drinking her coffee. The very last shot of that trailer is she got what she deserved. And it's like that's the whole movie. Like, why did you just give it away?
Well, you don't know she killed her. You just know something happened to her.
You kind of you can tell. You can
Anything
tell.
could have happened. You know what I mean? Maybe she slipped on some holy water and Jesus was like, today's the day.
When somebody is
know.
casually sipping their coffee and being like, she got what she deserved. You murdered her, didn't you? Like a coworker did that to me. We're talking about family. Yeah, but she got what she deserved. Did you kill her? Like, who the fuck says things like that?
And then they just sit there like, I mean, I'm just feel like it's coffee fresh, ain't it?
Yeah, so like, you could tell.
I like. Here's the thing about the ending. I like because I wish the movie you're pitching, Alex, would have happened. Is like this movie where it is like we get a lot of Belinda's perspective, but maybe with the ending where it all wraps up and we find out that actually Solange ain't all that bad. Like not in the sense that she's not crazy, like she is crazy, but the idea that like really this is just in-laws just be crazy, and she kind of like reflects back and sees things from a different perspective and sees like the things I thought were super extreme, like like the baby latches, and now that's finally the peace she needs to actually look at things and see things much differently. And then like and in the same way, Solange maybe has a moment of reflection being like, the baby latched? My job here is done. I pushed you so that you would be I wanted to see if you could be the mother you needed to be to take care of this baby. Like I have changed. All right. I know I can be much, but it like, yeah. And my methods are extreme. Kind of like J.K. Simmons in Whiplash, which by the way, that's coming back in theaters. I'm so excited to see it in theaters. But like in that movie where it's like, he is the villain, but from a certain point of view, you can be like, but I see what you're doing. Like you're pushing this person to become the amazing, great musician that they are destined to be. Now, the methods are fucked up. like I don't agree with the methods, but I understand the reasoning. And I thought that's where we were going with this movie is like, you have this mother-in-law who's like, I've been a mother-in-law and more importantly, or I've been a mother and more importantly, I've been a bad mother. Like, my son don't talk to me. And the few kids I did have, I lost them. I miscarried, like before I married Norman's dad. And I regret that. I've gone into my old age regretting that. And so now it's like she's driving Belinda crazy, but she's like, I'm just driving you crazy to push you to like, so you can challenge you to be the mother you're supposed to be. You got to stand up for yourself. You got to stand up for this baby. Sorry, go ahead.
What if like to that point, if in this alternate Alex written ending,
I didn't write the ending. They wrote the rest of the movie.
This alternate
but
ending,
I do have an alternate
on the
ending.
DVD. What if she was just like so eloquent, she didn't even have an accent. She wasn't maybe she wasn't even
she
as
saw her
old.
as a racist white woman, but she was actually like not that.
Yeah, like what if she was just a completely different character? I think that would have sold like the fact that this was all in Belinda's head.
Yeah, because I thought the Daughters of the Confederacy thing was going to be like because I thought it was really great that the way that's introduced is she sees the certificate and then she doesn't say anything. Like Belinda doesn't say anything. She just kind of keeps it to herself. And Solange doesn't see her pull it out. So she doesn't know that she knows that she has that certificate. And then
she shouldn't be surprised because this is a woman from like moderate wealth in the deep South. Are you that surprised that you would have something like that?
Well, I thought it was going to be a bait and switch. Like, we think she's heavily racist because of the Confederacy thing, but then she's like, no, I keep that as a reminder of how fucked up my family used to be. That's not mine. It's belonged to like a sister or an aunt or something like that, whatever. And like, when I turned my life to Christ, left that shit behind, but you can't forget your past. Like whatever, like the things were going to be explained. Like all the weirdness was going to kind of come full circle and just be like, actually, it wasn't as bad as you thought it was. She's just a little cray-cray, but you know, but she's not like, but she's not the monster.
I feel like this is their way of like, well, we don't want her to say the N-word, but we want to show that the racism runs deep. So here's a Confederacy of the Daughters, or the Daughters of Confederacy.
Yeah,
so it's like, we want to show it to run deep, but we also just don't want her to blatantly call her the N-word or, you know, say you people at her. So we're going to go it this way. For an alternate
well, she
ending,
pretty much almost did when she said,
I think she did. Didn't she say you people?
Did she say you people?
Well, she almost did what she, like, I feel like she implied it when she was like, I always, I forget what she said, but she was like, I always said this was going to be a bad parent or whatever. When she was talking about like their relationship, like,
bad pairing.
You all should. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say when she says I thought you like your people often has unique names when she's talking about the baby naming.
Oh.
And I was like, that was the one where I was like, which
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I get what the scene was trying to do, but I was like, I mean, she not entirely wrong though. There's a motherfucker on playing football right now named Jadeveon Clowney. Really? That ain't no normal motherfucking name.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Like, listen, we do like Shaniqua, Bonquisha. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of crazy black women names, like black people names, ghetto ass names, and that's if you're not naming someone after a stripper or a car. Sometimes both.
Names are beautiful, Jerome. And
I'm just saying.
And we have to remember this baby. Wrong. And we have to remember this baby's mixed. So
that's why you get a name like Fern.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you get the even weirder names like Ocean or something, like or Daybreeze.
But that's more like that. Like white. That's a white person thing, though.
Half the parents is white. That's where they got Fern from. I am fairly certain Belinda did not come up with the name Fern for their daughter.
Are you sure? Because that name Belinda.
Right.
It's Belinda.
I know Belinda and Solange should have switched names.
She I'm sure if it were up to her, that baby would have been named Belinda Jr. before Fern. Okay. That's a Norman decision.
Anyway.
Oh, really quick. For the alternate ending of how I would have written it, or like what I thought it was kind of going to go in the direction was that whole like after the baby latches, they like bond. But it was more in a way of like a more sinister way. Like I'm going to call her the grandmother now. The grandmother, stepmother, was always controlling and manipulative and this weird religious person. But that's because she was like the one who had that mothering bond with, you know, the husband and now the baby. And then finally, when Brandy's character kind of does it, she suddenly now relates to, you know, Solange's character. And they're like, oh, I get it. And it's now this like weird transfer of control and like manipulation and kind of now you have the power to like do all this. And now she is more, you know what I mean? More in control.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I always wanted a daughter that I could kind of pass down this like evil power to, basically.
Like, you know, tying in those supernatural elements.
Yeah.
I would have dug that. I would have liked that too.
Where like now they're bonded, but it's this like really toxic bad behavior where we know they're going to make Norman's life even more hell. And then now that she has a daughter, and that daughter someday, it's kind of like a matriarchal thing where now she can
Yeah,
pass it
yeah.
on to her child, her daughter, but it's a toxic cycle of manipulation, control, and like now you get to be the one who orders people around, and when your child gets a boyfriend, you can screw with him in his life, and then until she becomes the abuser, the cycle of abuse continues.
Or
Yeah.
I love that ending. Actually, that's a great idea. Or even if you want to go like with the religious extremist thoughts, I think another thing that would have been cool, because we have that. It's a beautifully filmed scene, even though it kind of feels weird. Is we have both the scene where it's the Pieta, where she's holding Norman and he's breastfeeding from her, or it's kind of reminiscent of the Pieta, and then there's also the Mother Mary image with the baby, where she has like the multiple nipples or whatever. It's like, but it is still supposed to be like Mother Mary-esque type visual. It would have been really cool if after Norman kicks or decides that Solange has to leave after biting the baby, if Solange looks at, now she's getting the hallucinations because the power dynamic is flipped, and she sees Brandy as the goddess, the Egyptian god that she talks about throughout the movie, because then that would have been a nice like visual storytelling element of like, now Brandy's the one in charge. She's like, Belinda finally has the power dynamic and she has become the goddess, and all the things that used to have power in this house like start to wither or maybe fall off the wall or something like that. And it's just like this, but also like, cause also, I mean, Brandy's in your film. She's a beautiful woman. Have her dress up like an Egyptian goddess. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's a slam dunk. That's easy. that's easy work. But I'm just saying, like, if something like that would have been really cool, I think. And it would have kept up that visual storytelling element that they were trying to use with the hallucinations that I don't think quite, it wouldn't have made it land, but it at least would have been consistent.
Well, final thoughts and grade. Al or Jerome, since you were just going through your last thoughts there.
The movie's getting a D plus from me. I gotta give points for that cinematography, and I gotta give points for Catherine Hunter. Like both those things alone make this movie at least somewhat worth watching. But unfortunately, it's just a lot of interesting ideas, and it's a shame too because Sam Eggers and Max Eggers, they helped write, I think, The Northman. I think that Robert Eggers movie. So they know how to, and granted that I feel like that is one of the weaker of the Eggers movies because I love that movie, but it also is a lot of concepts that don't really like land as hard as some of Robert Eggers' other movies. And so with this one, I don't know, like it's just like, I think maybe they just need to take a little bit more time, maybe like really just like talk to their brother about fleshing out a little bit about direction, how to really make a movie kind of sell, and how to deal with these concepts and make them a little stronger, because it introduces a lot of great ideas. It just doesn't go anywhere with any of them because there's far too many of them in one story. And maybe that a part of that is because they were like going off of a short story, so they really wanted to keep the base of the short story solid, but they also wanted to do these other elements, and they just weren't gelling with what they were trying to do. Because again, they changed the couple. Belinda and Norman are also religious, and so really that story is really just about the battle of religious extremism versus religious liberalism. Now you're adding element, like, and from that small story, you take out the religious liberalism, so there's only religious extremism mixed with postpartum depression, mixed with conflicts of new parenthood, mixed with conflicts of generational trauma between parent and child, mixed with in-laws, mixed with racism. Like it's too many ideas. There's too much in this gumbo, and it's just starting to look like slop. And that's kind of how this movie came out. So unfortunately, it just was a miss. But listen, everyone's got to start somewhere. Can't all be like Zoe Kravitz. started out really strong. And so I'm not going to say like they're trash directors. This is their first attempt at directing a movie as opposed to just writing one. So maybe on the next one, they'll actually like get a chance to really just like focus up a little bit more and flesh out an idea, like one idea, maybe two, if it like feels like it compounds really well. And then they can like attack a movie with like all of the nuance and the subtlety and the visual flair, because they got the visual flair down that it needs and it requires.
Alex.
I think this would have been a better movie had it been directed by a woman. Plain and simple. Because the thing is, you mentioned Zoe Kravitz with Blink Twice. It was perspective it was a perspective from women, and it was a woman director, and this movie, how I didn't know it had also they were religious, so kind of it does really focus on the power balance between older generation and younger generation, from parenting styles to this style. Because, like, my mom is more religious than me. And sometimes I'm a little, like, uncomfortable with it. But she's never disrespectful with it. She's never like, oh, you have to pray or you have to do this. Or when I'm saying I'm going to do this, she's like, oh, it's a conflict with Christianity. She never pushes the values on me. And I'm very grateful for her for that. But I can see it often with other people when they have a parent who's highly more religious than them, and how they've had to lie and how they've had to be like, well, I can't tell my mom this, I can't tell my mom that because she's so religious, I don't think she'll love me. I've never thankfully had to do that with my mother, but we still get into these, like, not arguments, but like disagreements about like religious, because I'm very not Christian and she very is, or, just about the older generation to the younger generation. Oh, when I was younger, I did this. I'm like, cool. I also did this when I was younger, but you didn't know about it. And like the different scenarios to how we are now. Like even when I turned 30, she was like, "Oh, when I was 30, I had like 3 kids, or was raising like 4 kids and married." And I'm like, "Yeah, and I have an orange cat in my apartment." That we live very different lives. I think had it been a woman director and writer, or that, it would have been much better, because it would have more focused on not necessarily the religious aspects, or even the kind of the past abuse with the son. It didn't really focus on that. It would have really more focused on the aspect of postpartum, afterbirth, and how everything can become extreme, and how even during a pregnancy you start feeling those effects. You're like, oh god, things are getting paranoid, things are getting worse. I think this story was more about like, you were always the daughter, now you're the mother kind of vibe. And now it's like, well, I'm the mother. Yes, you are my mother, but I'm the mother now, and this is what I want for my child. And since I'm her mother, I think had maybe they could have gone a whole different direction and focused on Norman's life, of how he was manipulated by this woman and how he gives in to his wife now because it's a financial thing, which kind of shows a financial abuse too, because now he's forced to take care of a whole household with bills and mortgages, where she doesn't even discuss with him about quitting her job or doing this, or moving forward with the life. She just makes a decision, which is very remnant of the stepmother, and what almost he implies is having control over his father, since she was so in control. So it's a repetition, the cycle of abuse. And then him having a daughter now, and almost like he couldn't bond with her because now all he sees is his stepmother and his wife. And now there's another woman in his life that can end up having that, again, abusive nature towards him, where he just gives in and he doesn't argue and he just kind of becomes submissive to everything. I think that's an interesting perspective too, because that's also from the viewpoint of where we don't get to talk a lot about, the abuse towards men, and them having to deal with not necessarily physical abuse, but there is a lot of psychological abuse, going on, that people don't want to think about when it comes to husbands having to deal with their wives and the intensity of how they're behaving. And yes, it can be due to hormones, yes, that, but it still doesn't excuse, and it's still scarring them mentally. I think that would have been such an interesting perspective, because you're still almost wanting to connect with the pregnant woman and the stepmom and being like, oh, they're just kind of going through a hard time. It's just him. He's fine. He can handle it. But then you're seeing now how he's handling it. And I think maybe, and, getting a male perspective on a male perspective would have been better. Instead, we got this movie that is trying to cram all these different things, as you said, religious, racism, generational, abuse, trauma, all this like thing. And it's like, pick a struggle. Pick a struggle. That's all you need to do. Because, like, yeah, all you needed to do was pick one struggle and we would have followed that and that would have been like our focus. Instead you were trying to spread it around too much. And you just kind of wanted since it was a short story, I understand them wanting to add a little more filler to make it more, but like you just went too much and it ended up being like this short film with all this in there and not enjoyable in the end. um Catherine, sorry, what's her last name?
Catherine Hunter.
Catherine Hunter, she did fantastic. uh I have like no criticism for her acting, and I like Brandy. I don't think she slept during the first film. I think she was supposed to be portrayed as very docile and like, I'll just give in because now we're getting money from this woman. So I think she played her part, but I will give you that her crying on command was amazing. Like she was so quick to that. So but all in all, this movie's definitely getting a D because it is not something I'm going to recommend to people, especially with the piss and shit. But
Yeah.
that
This movie should have came with a content warning.
Yeah. Honest to God, because it's not just like, oh, it's like a little pee. You see her like peeing on the floor, or it's not like they move up her nightgown and they see how much she shit. It's like on everything and on her,
On
like it's
walls.
Yeah, it's like everywhere. It's like if you have a sensitive gag reflex, you will gag and you may vomit. Because I know certain people when they start gagging, they will just vomit.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, that should have been that could have been something that could have been so controlled, or like show other issues that people have to deal with when taking care of elderly parents that no longer can take care of themselves. There are so many ways you could have gone, but you were trying to go for the shock factor, and all you got was like a factor. So definitely
Yeah.
a D. But what about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I echo the sentiment that we could have focused on maybe an A plot and then a solid B plot, and then that was it for the most part, and really like flesh those out. Because instead we did kind of Cheesecake Factory, Jack in the Box it, where we, had all of these options, but then we have none because we're left with the abundance of what's it called? The abundance of choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of with that, we were like kind of going through the review and thinking about like, okay, we have this side plot, we have this side plot, and we were like, thinking of side plots as we got to the end of the podcast. So I versus like if you compare it to Blink Twice, where we pretty much talked through the whole movie within like the first however long, and then we just talked about the little details of everything after that. So I did like I would have preferred a more contained film in that sense. Again, some of the positives: Catherine Hunter, Brandy. I will support anything and everything that Brandy is in.
I agree.
And I thought I also agree. I thought she held her own in this film, and this is really a departure from a lot of the stuff that she's done. Yeah, she's done horror before, but she hasn't really
you
done
ain't
this.
seen Temptations, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, right? She was in that movie too.
Okay, but she hasn't really done like she hasn't really done this type of like.
She's always played the young single woman, or the fun with this was like
she's never done art house. That's true.
Yeah,
art house, or like something that is not mainly like just for mostly the consumption of like Black audiences as well. So besides maybe Cinderella. So I thought this was a really good like departure for her, and I hope she continues to do more of this kind of stuff. This movie I definitely thought about after I had watched it a lot, trying to compose my thoughts in the sense that I was enjoying it while I was watching it, but once it ended, I was like, oh, I kind of want a little bit more. I wish the ending was a little bit more. I wish we would have fleshed out some of those themes. So basically what I'm saying is I'm calling for a sequel to this movie called The Back Room.
The back room.
But also
not the frontist room.
Right, the frontist room.
The foyer.
The foyer. There we go. Let's just do all the rooms in the house. The kitchen. Actually, there's a movie called The Kitchen.
There's already a movie called
but
The
anyways,
the
There you
balcony.
go.
and I watched it.
The study.
But yeah. But with that being said, side mentions as well. Andrew Bernat, he actually starred in the first iteration of The Inheritance that performed on Broadway. That was the show that I was in at the Geffen. So,
he's supposed to be the prince in Snow White, upcoming soon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think he showed good acting. There was nothing like spectacular about the performance, but I'm like, okay, yeah, you did your job. And that probably has to do with like the writing and directing as well. I would be interested in seeing something else that the Egger brothers have to offer, because this was their first thing. I don't think you can necessarily go off of one project for a director, unless it's like really bad or like really good. But then again, even those situations, it's a one-off. So I'd be really intrigued to find out what they have next in store. Also, my audience clapped at the end of this movie, so that was also like kind of in my mind as well. I'm like, okay, my audience, we had a good reaction to it. And I felt like we had fun watching this movie as well. Like the laughs were like the audience like genuinely was laughing, not necessarily like at the movie, but like with the movie. Like it wasn't like we were laughing out of like, this is so stupid, but it was like, it was genuinely funny. We also kind of trauma bonded as an audience at the beginning, because when I walked into the movie theater, the screen was off, and people were coming in asking like, oh, what's going on? Why is the screen off? Have they played any trailers? Because I walked in, you know me, I don't like to watch trailers. So I walked in like 20 minutes after the movie time had started, and the screen was black. And some other people were saying, oh yeah, they've told us they're working on it. And so we kind of trauma bonded as an audience. But then it started, and I didn't have to watch any trailers, so it just started straight into the movie.
Nice.
Which I very much appreciated. Yeah.
My audience was me and 4 other people, and you could hear a rat pissing on cotton. It was that quiet after the movie was over. Everyone just kind of walked out quiet, like, I don't know what I just watched, but it was something.
As I said, I shared a lovely moment with a man staring at his phone. I was trying to, me, I love machismo, so I was trying to read what he was writing, but sadly I was not close enough and his brightness wasn't high enough, so I'm left wondering more so, not with this movie, but with the man in the theater and who he had to text right then and there.
Moral of the story, if you have a troubled past with one of your parents or whatever, and your significant other's like, you should give them a chance. Tell them hell to the no. And let that be that.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Word of advice. Oh, I didn't get my rating. I'll give it a C. Middle of the road for me.
I think you're too nice, Jonathan. I'll always stand by
because
that.
Brandy was in it. Heck, he would have given the movie an A if Keke Palmer was in it.
Lord.
Although, shout out to the twin babies who played Baby Lori. They were so cute.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were cute.
Yeah.
So
It's
small.
always weird when it comes to babies, because it's like, I'm always like, I wonder if these babies will actually become like actors, or if you just got to check that day. Like, hey, can we borrow your baby for a few hours? Yeah, sure.
Well,
here, have them.
In California, I know this because we're for a photo shoot that we're doing at my job. We have to work with child like models and actors. So we have to like research all the laws and stuff in California. And in California, there's a law based off this child actor that sued his parents because they were taking all his money.
Isn't that Frankie Muniz?
Now, no, but it was a case like that. I remember
guy.
that.
Because I've heard about this case before.
Yeah, but for child actors, 20% of their check has to go into a savings that they can't touch until they're 18.
Right.
So
right. Who? What's her name from iCarly?
Jeanette
Cosgrove. Oh, Jeanette McCurdy.
Jeanette McCurdy. She was mentioning, and I keep wanting to read her book, and I have not gotten to it yet.
I know,
really
same.
did, but I heard her on a podcast talking about this one part. Her mom found a way around that law, so there was a loophole.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah,
yeah,
like loopholes. And
that's
stuff.
why I was like, I know that law. I thought it was because of Frankie Muniz, because I know Frankie Muniz's parents, I believe, they did that. But she found a loophole, and she's like, so all my money from iCarly, everywhere, it's gone. It's all gone from my childhood acting. I was like, oh shit. I was like, how do you find a way around that law? I mean, but I guess technically the parents are still in control of the state, even though the 20% is being put away. It's still in control of the parent, by control of the parents. So I guess
I feel like that's like the new thing with our generation is former child actors from TV shows make a podcast talking about how much they hated their childhood.
Don't get me started. I was just talking
on a podcast.
Don't get me.
Don't disrespect her.
No, not her. I'm talking about just, it just makes me think of that.
Don't get me started on Annalise, the girl who played Chelsea from That's So Raven.
No, my God.
She gets on my. She's
yeah, her, the Ned's Declassified crew. They got a podcast.
They're all.
Christy Carlson Romano.
Yeah, she's got a. Well, hers is more positive. Really, it's just her just being her at this point.
Two things. The Ned's Declassified one, they were just talking. Mose, whatever that actress is, basically just talked about how every sexual experience she had on Ned's Declassified. And I'm like, I don't want to think about that. You all were children. Secondly,
right.
Like they have like just everything I learned more and more about them, it's worse. I'm like, Ned's Declassified was one of my favorite shows. It is no longer one of my favorite childhood shows. Like y'all really properly ruined that. The woman from That's So Raven, she got so annoying because what it was at Raven's house?
Yeah, she keeps talking about how she's gonna expose Raven Simone and how she got fired from Raven's home.
Yeah,
or whatever.
She's like, it's weird that you got kicked off a show with Raven Simone twice. Or if I had a nickel every time I got kicked off a show with Raven Simone, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's still weird. Like every other TikTok of hers that I ever saw was like, I'm gonna spill the tea.
And finally, people have seen the light because the comments are always like, girl, the tea is piping cold at this point. Like, spill the tea and move on.
It could literally be Raven Simone, like, oh, she was just really jealous of me. That's it? Jealousy?
Right.
Did you sleep with each other's partners? Like, was there a weird romance? Are you really the mother of her child? Like, it had, if you're going to wait till the NDA runs out, it better be, like, super good. Because if it comes down to jealousy or money, you wasted everybody's time.
See, for me, it's just, wait for a documentary or something. All right. Like where someone outside of the situation can like get all the facts together, you know, not just your perspective.
Yeah.
So,
tune in to our future episode on Child Stars. Well, Demi Lovato has a documentary coming out called Child Stars.
Listen, some of them have made great strides, or they're doing great things and stuff like that. Some of the child stars of Disney, Nickelodeon, and whatever else. Mostly just those two. But but you know, so it's like
PBS.
I mean, look at Josh Peck. He's living his best life. He's doing all right.
Was in Oppenheimer?
I mean, Oppenheimer was pretty good, but you know, mostly on the internet. You know, I remember him staying relevant with Vine mostly, and just getting popular there, and then being in the occasional movie here and there.
Audience, let us know. Did you watch The Front Room? Did you watch our review? I'm assuming you did, since you're listening to this right now. I'm assuming you didn't just jump to the end. But let us know your thoughts. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. If you're listening to our audio version of the podcast, go ahead and give us 5 stars and a review. We would appreciate that greatly. My name is Jonathan Keys. You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. Jerome, where can people find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Red on Instagram. And thinking of the YouTube channel, go on over there to check out some interesting and fantastic content that you cannot get on the audio streaming platform. Stuff like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming content, and video versions of all of the podcasts. So go on over there. It's a great time. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Like if you like, you don't have to, but it is appreciated. And share. That's also very appreciated. Like spread the word. Let this podcast goodness leave your four walls of your domicile and go out into the world, into other people's domiciles. You know what I mean? And tell the world
Domiciles?
about the greatness that is.
Do you have a day
domicile.
of the word of calendar or something?
I guess so. Day of the word.
Day of the word.
Look, don't make fun of the dyslexic person.
Alex, where can people find you?
I don't think I want to say it anymore. You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok, as well as the podcast TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post clips of some of the old episodes we have done, some things we are doing now, movies we are watching, or just little things I do when I'm bored. So come join me over there. And
nice. Tune in next week for Beetlejuice. Can't say it a third time.
It's showtime. Yeah.
Right.
Batman's back.
Have you guys seen it yet?
Not as Batman.
we saw it opening night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I dragged Jerome. Because it was the same thing with Deadpool versus Wolverine. I was actually excited to see Beetlejuice. And just with the way people literally, you can find the whole movie of Deadpool versus Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine on TikTok. People are live streaming it still. People are doing this immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't want that for Beetlejuice. I actually wanted to go and enjoy it. So I dragged Jerome out on the opening night. I was like, we're going to go see it. Go get your ticket. I think I reminded you 3 times. I'm like, get your ticket. You're going. But
nice. Well, we're going to talk about that. So if you haven't seen it, watch it so you can catch up and listen to our review. And until then,
have a good night, good morning, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. And we'll catch you for the next one. Bye.
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 Remember that when you showed us your 10,000 Google tabs?
I forgot about that. I must have blocked that out.
I cannot forget how many tabs you had open, and it still stresses me out. I have nightmares about it to this day. I'm trapped in your browser with all the tabs.